welcome to our weekly Sunday virtual sessions. We wish everyone belated Diwali wishes. This past week, our temple was open in the evening for darshan on the occasion of Diwali, and then on Friday we had the grand Govardhan Puja, the celebration of Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill. So as you all know, this is a very auspicious month of Kartik. There have been a lot of various festivities in the past week or two. We had Radha Kunda appearance the week before, and then this past week, like I said, we had Govardhan Puja and Diwali. So a lot of festivities and celebrations in this auspicious month of Kartik. And today we will be continuing with our regular weekly Sunday sessions. And today's talk and today's session is going to be dedicated to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's a very special and dear day for all the followers in this process of bhakti and Krishna consciousness. It is the disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada. So it's a kind of a bitter and sweet day in the sense that we are celebrating his life and all his contribution for the society and for the larger mankind all around the world. At the same time, it's a day when devotees meditate more than usual on Srila Prabhupada. So we thought it's also Kartik time. There's so much we can speak on Srila Prabhupada, his contribution, and his pastimes. But Anand Gaurang Prabhu has picked up two really key qualities of Srila Prabhupada, or qualities that Anand Gaurang Prabhu wanted to speak about, is compassion and determination. I'm sure many of you will agree how determined Srila Prabhupada has been to set out to spread this moment of Krishna consciousness at a very late age. And for those of you who have read his life and story, I'm sure there's so much one can speak about. So it's a month of Kartik, like I said. So we're going to take some inspiration and lesson on these two qualities of Srila Prabhupada, and how we can also apply in our day-to-day life and in us following our path of Krishna consciousness. So I won't speak more. I'm going to just briefly introduce the speaker for today, and he's going to present on this topic. So we have with us Anand Gaurang Prabhu. Anand Gaurang Prabhu, thank you and welcome to our weekly session. Many of you know Anand Gaurang Prabhu. He's a wonderful community leader across the GTA, but especially for the Scarborough congregation. He's been involved in spreading and sharing Krishna consciousness across the GTA for many years now, and he's especially known for organizing and conducting havans across various temples. And he's a great facilitator when it comes to speaking on various topics, be it from Bhagavad-Gita or Bhagavatam. And today he has agreed to speak about Srila Prabhupada. He was extra enthusiastic in speaking on our founder Acharya. So we look forward to hearing more about this topic, Anand Gaurang Prabhu. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So today is a very special day, as Prabhu mentioned, Sunday, 7th of November 2021. It is the 44th Tiro Bhava Mahotsav. Tiro Bhava is the term that is used for Disappearance Day. Similarly, Avir Bhava Mahotsav or Avir Bhava is the term that is referred to when there is an appearance day. So today we will on the sober day, but also it's the most important day for us where we reflect and contemplate on the life and teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. But before we do that, we will chant the Mangal Charan prayers. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilita Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Sha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatata Satarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yatkripatam Aham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Maha Vadanyaya Krishna Prema Pratayata Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvise Namaha Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmane Taicha Jagatitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So again, I'm not qualified to speak on this fascinating topic on Srila Prabhupada, remembering Srila Prabhupada, who's the epitome of determination and compassion. Epitome means a person or thing that is a perfect example of a particular quality or type. So who's more qualified to have this characteristics of determination and compassion than Srila Prabhupada, who's done so much for us. So in my humble attempt, I'm going to do this just for my purification. As I've said, I'm not qualified to speak on the glories of Srila Prabhupada. So today is Tiro Bhava, which is the 44th disappearance anniversary of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And again, we will reflect on some of the aspects and contemplate on the life and teachings of His Divine Grace, His unparalleled determination and compassion. So He's given us everything that we need for our spiritual journey, all the do's and don'ts, and also to do it with complete determination and also with devotion. So you would have heard about this 212-degree attitude. So we can use that terminology, a 212-degree devotion. So what is this 212-degree? Because boiling point of water, it's 100 degrees Celsius, but if you use the Fahrenheit, 211-degree Fahrenheit, the water doesn't boil, but at 212-degree Fahrenheit, that's when things happen. So Srila Prabhupada has instructed us to do all our spiritual activities, our devotional service with that much intensity, and He's given it all, right? And also to keep our noses in the spiritual grindstone, keep doing what we are supposed to do, and don't worry about all the hindrances that we may have on our spiritual journey. And it is also said that He's like the canary in the coal mine. So in the early 1900s, these coal miners, when they go down, they don't know if there is any danger that is lurking, any poisonous emissions that may come and kill them all. So they take this bird. This bird is an early warning indicator, it's a canary. And, Srila Prabhupada gave us so many early warning indicators of what we may get trapped in with regard to Maya and how to overcome that. And He had given us the most potent weapon to fight against Maya, as well as the greatest gift that He's given us is the carrier of our soul to the spiritual world. And that is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is the greatest weapon against Maya, as well as is the carrier. Just like Air Canada is a carrier that takes us from one country to another country, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is so potent that it will take us to the spiritual world. So we will start off by chanting one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So as some of you may be wondering why it is a celebration, because we still call it as Tiro Bhav Mahotsav, Maha Utsav. That is because during days like this, we contemplate on the life and teachings of the personalities much more than on normal days. Though we should be contemplating on the same every day, on these days we are able to contemplate more. Many of us are relatively younger. We may not have had the association directly with Srila Prabhupada, but thanks to the tireless efforts of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada and great personalities, we are able to associate with Srila Prabhupada through his books, through his room conversations, etc., and we are able to benefit immensely. And appearance and disappearance is like, as Srila Prabhupada himself had said when he said this about his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, is that there is no birth and death for great personalities. They appear and disappear. So that's why today's day is Disappearance Day. It's not a death anniversary, it's a disappearance day, because great personalities, they come and go at their own will based on the timetable that is set by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So just like the sun appears in the morning and sun disappears in the evening, great personalities, they appear to our vision and they disappear after the job is done. So they come to fulfill the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and like days like today, Srila Prabhupada has gone back home, back to Godhead, after he's given us everything that we need. So the question is, why do we have to hear? So important part is we have to hear about these great personalities, because that's the bridge through which we are connected to them to get their mercy. So when we hear about them, that's like the bridge that is connected to extract the mercy from them. And it is much more than that. It is like the umbilical cord that is connected with the baby and the mother. So this hearing is the umbilical cord to these great personalities like Srila Prabhupada. And also like the switch on, I would say, years on, misery is gone when we hear about great personalities like Srila Prabhupada and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when we are using our ears, use our ears to remove the tears and fears, because we get so much of confidence about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and with that we are able to lead our life peacefully and in devotion as well. So as we said, as I said, many of us, I'm not sure who's on this Zoom call, but many of us are relatively younger. We may not have had the opportunity to have the personal association with Srila Prabhupada. So there are two types of association. One is called as Vapu. Vapu means associating physically. And then the second type of spiritual association is through the words, association through the words, and that is called as Vani. So in terms of Prabhupada's association with his words are through his books, through his lectures, through his room conversations, etc. So even Srila Prabhupada has eulogized that, saying that he will always be present with us through his books. So, and then also if we turn the pages of history, we will find that many of the spiritual stalwarts had hardly any opportunity to physically associate with their gurus and well-wishers, right? So as we heard, Srila Prabhupada himself had, it is said historically 5 to 6 times he had physically associated with his Guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. And also we read from the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam that Narada Muni, when he was a maidservant's son, when Upabarhana was his previous life, he was a Gandharva, then he was cursed to become a maidservant's son. And at that point in time, he was serving the traveling mendicants, the Vedantas, who gave him so much of information. But again, he did not have too much of association with them. So great personalities also had limited Vapu, but they are eternally associated with them through Vani. So throughout their life, their teachings were ingrained in their heart. And personally, we are all benefiting from that. So even Lord Krishna was present physically before Arjuna. And even today, Lord Krishna is physically present before us through his Vani of Bhagavad-Gita, which is again given to us by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Even though Vyasadeva wrote this, it's part of Mahabharata, it would have been stayed within the boundary walls of India, and it would not have come to those of us who are in Toronto, Canada, throughout North America, and then Europe and other parts of the world as well. So Srila Prabhupada not just personifies these two qualities. Again, we took two qualities, but then we read from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam how Lord Kapila is instructing his mother Devahuti about the glories of a sadhu or a saint. So this is from third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 25th chapter, 21st verse, very famous verse where it goes like Titikshava, Karunika, Sugrida Sarva Dehinam, Ajada Shatrava Shanta, Sadhava Sadhu Bhushana. So these are qualities that Srila Prabhupada, demonstrates, right? So where the symptoms of a sadhu are, he's very tolerant, he's very merciful, he's very friendly, not just to human beings, to all living entities. He has no enemies, he's peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his qualities and characteristics are very sublime. So Srila Prabhupada cannot be merciful and friendly if he's not determined and having full of compassion for all living entities. So we are all very fortunate that we are benefiting from what Srila Prabhupada sacrificed for us. So he's the founder Acharya, and Acharya means one who is a teacher, one who's an authority, and also more importantly, one who shows by example. That is the term for Acharya, one who shows by example. So we have to go back as to why did he come to the West? Why did he preach? Why did he have to go through all the difficulties and troubles to give us all these scriptures for us to benefit, and all the practical instruction, not just giving the books and not just saying, oh, you have to eat vegetarian food. No, it's much beyond that. Krishnatarian, right? How we offer it to Krishna, and then we eat not just vegetarian. It's a level above being a vegetarian, and also not just eat vegetarian. He didn't say that. So many cookbooks have come from his disciples, and Srila Prabhupada himself was an expert cook. So even for the newcomers who are not yet devotees, who may be eating everything, but they get to know how to cook healthy vegetarian meals as well. So it's a complete program that Srila Prabhupada has given, what we need to do from the morning till we go to the night as well. So why did Srila Prabhupada come to the West? Again, this is based on the instruction by his Guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj in 1936, because that's the year that his Guru left the world and went back home, back to Godhead. And that instruction that was given to him in 1936 was to preach in English language. So which is actually based on a very famous text from Chaitanya Bhagavat. We're all very famous. We know Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, but Chaitanya Bhagavat is also a very beautiful text, and we have all the translation now. If you go to Veda base, you'll get all the information about that. It's more of stories, right? So even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami used to instruct his disciples, read Chaitanya Bhagavat first before you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, because there's a lot of stories in that, and in this Kali Yuga, stories have a bigger impact initially, and then we can get into the philosophical part of it. So there is a prophecy in this Chaitanya Bhagavat. It's not just stories. There's a beautiful prophecy by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. It says, Prithvi Paryanta Yacha Ache Desha Grama Sarvatra Sanchara Haiveva Mora Nama. So in every town and village of this world, the chanting of my name will be heard. So that was a prophecy, close to 500 years ago. And then that was the instruction by Srila Prabhupada's Guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj for Srila Prabhupada to preach in English language. And preach means it includes the chanting of the holy name, because only when somebody preaches us, tells us about the glories of the holy name, it will be available, and it will be in every town and every village. The chanting will go on. So that was the beginning part of how, or the reason why Srila Prabhupada had to come to the West in 1965 and 1966. As we know, Iskcon was incorporated about 56 years ago. And Srila Prabhupada, because of his complete implicit faith in his Guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and Lord Krishna, he was able to get everything and give it to us. So it says a famous verse from Suteshvatara Upanishad. So as we know, Vedanta, like Antakale cha mameva, 8.5 Bhagavad-Gita, right? At the end of your life, if you think of me, you'll come to me. So Vedanta means end of Vedas. And Upanishads are referred as Vedanta. And one of the famous Upanishad that Srila Prabhupada is quoted very often is the Suteshvatara Upanishad. And this is a very famous verse where it says, Yasyadeve pera bhaktir yata deve tata guru tatsaita katitayi artha prakashante mahatmana. So for one who's got this implicit faith in Guru and in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then it is said that the imports of the scriptures are automatically revealed. So Srila Prabhupada came with the potency of Lord Krishna and his Guru to come to the West. So Srila Prabhupada is very West, so very special. So at this point in time, I would like to narrate a very, very rare pastime that not many devotees may know, but it's very inspiring to show that Srila Prabhupada is very special. Because before Srila Prabhupada, many gurus, so-called gurus, had come to the West and they did not succeed. But Srila Prabhupada was impregnated with the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a beautiful pastime that was narrated by Bahushiras Das Adhikari. Now, this is the book of memory, the anecdotes of modern day saint. And there is this great person by the name of Acharya Prabhupada Mishra. Now, we need to know him, right? Because this is a very important person, because he was the first disciple. We read, again, we were not there, but we read that he is the first disciple of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So this person, Acharya Prabhakar, was initiated in the year 1953 in Jhansi in Uttar Pradesh. For those of you who are from India, you'll know Jhansi is about, I would say, about 300 kilometers southeast of Vrindavan, because all of us know Vrindavan. So it's about 300 kilometers southeast of Vrindavan is this Jhansi, which is also in Uttar Pradesh, just like Vrindavan. And this person, this Prabhakar Mishra, was interviewed as part of this Prabhupada Leelamrita. They were interviewing many associates and disciples who had personal association with Srila Prabhupada. It's a fascinating, pastime, and that, proves that Srila Prabhupada is, not is a very special person that was sent by Lord Krishna himself. So this disciple, Prabhakar Mishra, is a MA and PhD, so very learned person, very handsome person, it seems, and he's a clean-cut, well-spoken, well-behaved, articulate person. And as you just heard, he got his initiation. He was the first disciple of Srila Prabhupada in 1953 in Jhansi. So next year in 54, Srila Prabhupada went there to conduct a Rath Yatra festival. And by the way, Srila Prabhupada had told Prabhakar Mishra that Lord Krishna appeared in his dream, and he said that you go to Jhansi and you will be initiating this person. So it's a special link with Prabhupada and this person, Prabhakar. So hereafter, this Prabhakar Mishra got initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1953. 54, Srila Prabhupada had gone to Jhansi to conduct this Rath Yatra festival there. And this Prabhakar was a businessman, and he went to Delhi, and then he came back at odd time, then he slept during the day, and he woke up at 1 o'clock, and he was hearing Prabhupada singing in a very loud voice, and he was pacing up and down in his room non-stop. He was going again and again and again, very loud chanting, all by himself, Srila Prabhupada. So this Prabhakar Mishra wanted to see what's going on. It's a very unique time. Yes, Prabhupada chants very early in the morning, but at 1 o'clock, so it was a little different at that time. So Prabhakar went and looked through the keyhole, and then he saw Srila Prabhupada was pacing up and down, chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with a huge Kadamba garland. Now, this Kadamba garland, for those of you who are very familiar with Srimad Bhagavatam, this Kadamba garland, Kadamba flower or Kadamba tree is referred to frequently in Srimad Bhagavatam. In a couple of pastimes, when in the Kaliya pastime, Lord Krishna jumped onto this Kadamba tree, and then he jumped onto Yamuna. And also in the pastime of stealing the gopi's dress, he climbed on top of a Kadamba tree. So here Srila Prabhupada was wearing a long garland of Kadamba tree, it seems, when this first disciple Acharya Prabhakar Mishra saw, and it was so close to all below his knee. So it's such a long garland. And the fascinating thing, what he says is this Prabhakar Mishra is always from Jhansi, and he said that this Kadamba tree is very rare in Jhansi, but it's impossible for anybody to have a garland, that many, kadamba flowers, and that too the size of much bigger than a tennis ball, because usually this kadamba garland in India, it'll be the size of a golf ball. It's very small. But here, Srila Prabhupada is wearing the kadamba garland, which was so huge, very closely knit flowers, but it was the size of much bigger than a tennis ball. So he was startled, and he said that it was aprakrita. So that means it's not normal. It's beyond material world's influence that was there in that room. The fragrance was very esoteric, beyond this earthly fragrance. And then he came out, and then in the morning, he asked Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada did not ask him. He was asking, how come you were dancing so ecstatically at that time? And then later on, I think in the evening, he asked him, and then Srila Prabhupada had said that I was chanting for Lord Krishna with feeling and love for him. And what followed was fascinating. And he said, Srila Prabhupada said that Lord Krishna had appeared in front of him, and then he gave this garland, and then he wanted to actually touch Lord Krishna's feet, but then Krishna disappeared, and then he continued to chant and dance in ecstasy. So this was a fascinating pastime, first-hand, instruction or information that was given by Acharya Prabhakar Mishra, who was the first disciple of Srila Prabhupada, who got initiated in 1953, and this episode had taken place in Jhansi in 1954. So Srila Prabhupada is very, very special. So as far as the timeline of Srila Prabhupada is concerned, Srila Prabhupada appeared in the year 1896, September 1st in Calcutta. So he appeared in India, and you can say he disappeared in India as well, in Vrindavan in 1977. And today is the Tirobhava anniversary, which was the 44th disappearance day anniversary. So 1896, September 1st in Calcutta, he appeared. And it was very coincidental, because that same year, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And who's Bhaktivinoda Thakur? He is the father of the spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami's father is Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And in the year 1896, the appearance year of Srila Prabhupada, he sent this beautiful book. It's available online. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Life and Precepts. Precepts means rules and teachings, and it is called as, and also within that is Gauranga Leela Smarana Mangala Stotram. And within that, there is this famous Dasa Mula Stotram, the verse 75. And, many, many years ago, Prabhupada's disciple Dravid Prabhu asked some of us to memorize this verse, 75th verse, beautiful verse, very long verse. It includes everything that we need to know about Krishna consciousness. Everything is summarized in this one verse, Dasamula Tattva, verse 75 of this Gauranga Smarana Mangala Stotra. Amnaya Praha Tattva Mariviha Paramam Sarva Shaktim Rasati Tadvinam Sam Sajivam Prakriti Kalavitam Tadvimuktam. So it's a beautiful, beautiful long verse. 10 conclusions of the entire Krishna consciousness. It says Vedic scriptures are infallible. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the possessor of all potencies. He's the ocean of transcendental bliss. The conditioned soul and the liberated soul are part and parcel of Lord Krishna. The conditioned souls are actually covered by Maya. The liberated souls are free from Maya. And then the 8th point is Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, that is coming to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Qualitatively, we are same, but quantitatively, we are infinite versus infinitesimal as far as Krishna is concerned. And then Krishna Bhakti is the only way to attain perfection. And the 10th is Krishna Prema, which is the final object of our spiritual existence. So this is part of what was sent to McGill University in Canada in 1896, which was the year that Srila Prabhupada appeared. So it's very coincidental, and whatever Srila Prabhupada taught us was Krishna consciousness, which is based on this Dasa Mula Tattva, which was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings. So in 1922, he meets, Srila Prabhupada met his Guru Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, and 1933, which is 11 years later, after he met his guru, Sometimes we say we need initiation right away. So 11 years later, Srila Prabhupada got initiated. First and second initiation together. He got the japa beads as well as the sacred thread at the same time in 1933. And then 1936, as you already heard, that's when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami departed from this material world to the spiritual world. And that's when he said, go and preach in English. And 1965 is the significant year because August 13th, Srila Prabhupada begins his voyage to North America aboard Jaladuta. Now, some of you would have gone on this all-inclusive trip, in Royal Caribbean cruise, Carnival cruise, etc. Right? So this Jaladuta is a cargo ship. Okay, so it's not like what you see on television about these Royal Caribbean cruise with swimming pools and spas and everything. This is a cargo ship that Srila Prabhupada started his journey on. August 13th, 1965, he got a free ticket from Srimati Moraji. And what did he leave with? He left with a small suitcase, an umbrella, which is typical at that time. Everybody takes an umbrella. So it's a suitcase, an umbrella. It is said that he carried a bag of dry cereal, to eat, because he doesn't know what he's going to get. One bag of dry cereal and rupees 40. So this is the official information that we read. So rupees 40. So no dollar. So $0 when he left on this Jaladuta. He had no support, no manpower, no money. And Chaitanya Charan Prabhu beautifully said, Prabhupada's one step to enter Jaladuta is a giant leap in humanity's spiritual evolution, which is so true. So it demonstrates the complete fearlessness and faith that Srila Prabhupada had because of the protection of Lord Krishna. So nobody took him seriously, right? Because what will you do as an old man do in America? And Srila Prabhupada said, well, I'll make them chant Hare Krishna and dance in ecstasy. They said, impossible. Even Indians are not interested. So how will Americans be interested in chanting and dancing? Forget that. And then while crossing, Srila Prabhupada, it is said that he was preaching to the crew of that ship from the contents of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And it was a 38-day voyage where he went through so much of difficulty. And on the 13th and the 14th day of his voyage, so which is almost half, very early in his voyage, you can say, that he had 2 heart attacks. It's well documented, we know, but he had this 2 heart attacks, and he knew, and he was thinking that he's not going to survive this trip and he'll ever come to North America. 2 back to back on 13th day and 14th day. And this is the thought that we need to think on the disappearance day. Here we are all comfortably sitting. Whenever we get a chance, we read Prabhupada's books that we have at the comfort of our home, beautiful purports and everything. But what he had to endure and go through is what we need to contemplate and reflect on this disappearance day of Srila Prabhupada, which is today, November 7th, 2021. And on that night, it said that Srila Prabhupada himself taught us that in the night he had a dream that there was a boat in front of this Jaladuta with Lord Krishna, with all his incarnations there. And there was a rope that tied that boat to Prabhupada's ship, which is Jaladuta, and Krishna was rowing that boat. And that gave him all the confidence that he is going to be successful in North America. So finally, September 17, 1965, he reached, the ship actually reached the Commonwealth Pier, which is the harbor in Boston. And that was the historical arrival. It was good for all of us, right? So we may not have known Srila Prabhupada at that time, but that was the beginning of the spiritual journey for all of us because of him coming to North America. So all of you would have traveled to different parts of the world. Even in a flight, if you take, it could be a non-stop flight, it could be a flight that goes through Europe. It's not a very comfortable one, unless even business class is not very comfortable. But this is a cargo ship. Let's understand that this is a cargo ship. With when he was 69 years old, his health was failing. He had 2 heart attacks. No money. He doesn't know anybody when he's coming here. So this was a historic trip that he had to make with the blessings of Lord Krishna. And in Boston, he wrote this a mark in the Bhagavata Dharma, and that is this beautiful verse, a long set of verses that Srila Prabhupada wrote. And in that, the famous one is that, "Oh Lord, I'm just a puppet in your hands. If you want me to make me dance, make me dance, make me dance, make me dance," right? So beautiful. So where he said that, I'm ready to do, I'm just an instrument here. I'm not here to do anything. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. So he came with that complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he had that 40 rupees, if you remember. So and then finally the ship came on the 38th day from Boston. It came to New York Harbor. And as he was getting down, the ship's captain, I think his name was Pandya. So at that time, Srila Prabhupada asked Pandya, "Dear Pandya, would you, I don't, I'm coming from India. I don't have even $1 with me. All I have is 40 rupees. Will you be able to buy any of the books that I have?" And then Pandya, the captain of Jaladuta, said, "How much is it, Swami?" And then Srila Prabhupada said $16, $16. And Pandya gave $20 to Srila Prabhupada. So this is like, this is unbelievable. We have to hear that the compassion and the determination that Srila Prabhupada had, just for our benefit. It's nothing for him to gain. It's all for us to gain. So he took this $20 that this Jaladuta captain, Pandya, gave him. And that's all he had when he came, when he landed in New York. And then in 1966, Srila Prabhupada established Iskcon, which is about 56 years ago. And it's fascinating how we got the name Krishna Consciousness, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. We need to know, and especially on a day like this, on his disappearance day anniversary, we need to know. It's interesting because Srila Prabhupada, there is this samvada. Samvada is this dialogue, So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is this dialogue between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, just like another samvada is Bhagavad-Gita between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. So here it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy, but the roles are reversed. So Ramananda Roy is explaining everything and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is asking questions. So that's the Leela. So in one of the verses, this is quoted in Padyavali as well, Padyavali 14, I think, where it is said, "Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatamati Kutopi Labhyate Tatra Laulyam Api Molyam Ekalam Janma Kodi Sukritirna Labhyate." Laulya means greed, but this is good greed. Because his close associates came and said, "Don't give the name Krishna consciousness. Why don't you give the name God consciousness?" So Srila Prabhupada said, "No, I want to be very specific. It has to be Krishna consciousness." And that Krishna consciousness came from the translation of this particular verse from Padyavali 14. It's also in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 8.70, where the translation is, "Pure devotional service to Krishna consciousness, in Krishna consciousness, cannot be attained even by pious activities performed for so many lifetimes, but it can only be had by intense greed." And it is said that if you can purchase it somewhere, go and purchase it, right? So pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness. So that's the term that Srila Prabhupada said that he used to give the title for Iskcon. So it's very important that we know. So we all have to memorize this particular verse. It's very easy to memorize. So Padyavali 14. And there are many, many samvadas, as you know, in Mahabharata also we read there is samvada between a jackal and a monkey. Beautiful samvada. Samvada is dialogue back and forth, right? There is also the samvada between the Sibi is there, and then you have the dove and the hawk, back and forth conversation. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, you could say 6th canto, Yamaduta and this Vishnu Dutas, it's back and forth sort of samvada, right? So coming back to Srila Prabhupada, the 12 years from 1965 to 1977, they had a seismic impact at that time and forever after that, right? For so many years, because in the West, as we know, developed the civilization of, based on ignorance, based on sin. And as a result of that, because of ignorance, there is sinful activities. And because of sinful activities, there is suffering. It's a nice, cause and effect, right? So ignorance, sin, and suffering. So that's what the Western civilization is based on. And for millennia, these teachings and the rich culture was only hidden within the borders of India. If Srila Prabhupada did not come, we wouldn't have had even Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's an open secret here, right? So we have everything at our disposal. So he revealed the timeless wisdom of bhakti to the entire world because of the struggle that Srila Prabhupada had to go through. So, as I said, many of us are young. We may not have met Srila Prabhupada, but again, because of his glorious disciples, devotees, we are all able to relish the contents of all this and benefit from that as well. So, this, we know that during those 12 years, you can say that the spiritual tsunami was actually formed, and it's continuing to engulf us in God conscious. So it's only because of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So in our spiritual journey, we have this engine. So, our spiritual journey is moving along well, and we have a captain, and this engine is taking us in the right direction. Even if he is not our Diksha Guru, he's the Siksha Guru for all of us, because many of us may be initiated by different gurus, but all the gurus also preach based on the books by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So it's all coming from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So he's our Siksha Guru. So Diksha Guru is the initiating Guru, Siksha Guru is the instructing Guru. So our ultimate instructing Guru is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So today, we have over 650 centers, right? Temples and colleges and schools, and we have over 125 vegetarian restaurants like Govinda's that we have in the Toronto Temple. We were fortunate enough to visit that yesterday. And we have over 10 million, and it's increasing. We have over 10 million people worshipping at Iskcon centers annually as well. And what most important thing is the knowledge that we all get, right? Because if you go to any other temple, I don't want to name temples, that's not the intent of this class, but we go to any other temple, non-Iskcon temples, there is no information, there is no knowledge there, right? So there is no knowledge. You go there once a week, somebody goes and then they come back home. Here we have knowledge every day in Iskcon Toronto and other Iskcon temples, which are full-fledged temples. There is Srimad Bhagavatam class every day, and so often you have Bhagavad-Gita classes on a weekly basis. There is 1 hour of Bhagavad-Gita classes in most of the temples, or in any of the scriptures that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So there's knowledge that is given to us, what we can do from morning to evening as individual personalities, as a family. What we can do is given us deity worship. He's given us everything that we need to know. So every time we come to the temple, we visit a temple, we get this hedge of protection for the future and forgiveness for the past, and also we get this automatic deposits of spiritual credits into our account as well. So it was a flailing body at 69 years that Srila Prabhupada came to a foreign country. He does not know anybody, a lot of drug addicts, no disciples here, no friends, biting cold, winter, etc. And only because of what his Guru had said, which is based on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prophecy, which you heard a little earlier from Chaitanya Bhagavat. So this is universal mercy and compassion, right? So it's to benefit all humanity beyond bodily designation, not just for Indians. That means he could have stayed in India and not restricted to any geographical location, but for all souls to benefit. And also the teachings that he gave us are for various levels of devotees to attain perfection. Just like, we go on 401, I take 401 from east to go to west to Burlington. And then, there are many cars that are going at different speeds, different sizes, etc. Not all of us are in the same level of spiritual journey. So Srila Prabhupada has given us so much of knowledge, through stories, several stories that he's given us, Krishna book that he's given us. So, okay, if you're not well versed, you're not having that knowledge to read Srimad Bhagavatam verse by verse, Sanskrit, transliteration, translation, etc. Read the Krishna book. The 90 chapters of the 10th canto are beautifully condensed into the nice little book, Krishna book, which was actually given to us by Srila Prabhupada before he even translated all the, cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he wanted us to have that. So for various levels of devotees to attain perfection, he gave many things, one-stop shopping, right? And what he did not give us, right? So he taught us about who we are, who is God, and also God. We don't get to hear about God too much in other cultures, right? So here we know what is the address of God. We know what is his address. It could be the earthly pastime address in Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, and also, in the spiritual world, we know his address. We know what dress he wears, what is his favorite color, yellow, dhoti, and what is his favorite animal, cow, favorite instrument, a flute. So we know everything. Who's his wife? Who are his friends? What is his favorite food? Everything that we need to know is all there. So, treasure trove of information through the books that he's given us, and he said that he lives through the books. So we are all associating with Srila Prabhupada through his books and the information that he's given us. So Bhagavad-Gita is the word of Krishna. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness is given there. Complete information. It is called as Gita Upanishad. So as we heard earlier, Upanishad is the concluding part of Vedas, right? Because if you take the Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Atharva Veda, Yajurveda has also got Krishna Yajurveda and Shukla Yajurveda, black and white. So white is more organized, that's all. And then within each one of those Vedas, you have Brahmana, you have Aranyaka, you have Samhita, and you have Upanishad. Upanishad is the philosophical conclusion, right? So Gita Upanishad is the conclusion, is the crest jewel of all the Vedas that Srila Prabhupada has given us through Bhagavad-Gita as it is. The most significant part of it, which we all should know and know, is that the purport, the commentaries, right? Because it can be interpreted in many different ways if we don't have the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He's poured the commentary from so many other scriptures. You see, this is from Swateshvatara Upanishad. This is from Padma Puran. This is from Skanda Puran, etc. So we get a composite view of all the Vedic scriptures just by reading Bhagavad Gita. And of course, we read Srimad Bhagavatam. There's so much to be gained from there. Activities of Lord Krishna and his devotees are all there in Srimad Bhagavatam. The 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, ripened tree of the Vedic tree of knowledge. He taught us everything about the various incarnations of the Lord, which is there in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. And Jaidev Goswami has given us Vedan Uddharate Jagati, 10 incarnations of Lord Krishna. He gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita. Whatever we need, the critical things that we need to go back home, back to Godhead. Chaitanya Charitamrita, 11,001, I think about 500 verses are there. Srila Prabhupada has given us the process and practice of devotional service. And Upadeshamrita. Upa means instruction, Amrita means nectar, right? So nectar of instruction, which is a very small sort of book. He's given us that. So important. Tells us how Vaikunta, then Mathura, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Radha Kund, the highest perfection that we can get. Nectar of devotion, 51 chapters from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. It's just wealth of knowledge, so much to be harvested from these wonderful books that Srila Prabhupada has given us in the short period of 12 years. And because of his wonderful disciples, we have these beautiful books that are available online, hard copy. So many classes are being given so that we get more information about these wonderful books. He's also given us the translation of Isho Upanishad, Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate. Beautiful explanation and descriptions of the Lord is there in this Isho Upanishad. Only 18 verses, right? And many more. So Srila Prabhupada has given us everything that we need. So, and he's also, as we heard, depending on the devotees, right? So not all of us are traveling at the same pace also towards God consciousness. We are not evolved at the same rate. So Srila Prabhupada has given us so many stories, many stories would come to our mind. We may have heard this probably 15 years ago, but sticks with us so well. Very profound stories, right? One of the stories that I remember is Srila Prabhupada said, don't give your heart when you're mixing with non-devotees, right? There's a beautiful story where there is this crocodile was going on swimming on a river, and then the monkey is there on a tree, and he says, hey monkey, come, I'll give you a ride, come sit on my back. And this monkey comes happily, sits on the back of this crocodile, and this crocodile is going to very deep water. So the monkey's got no chance of jumping anywhere and saving himself. He says, where are you going? And the crocodile says, I'm going to take you home, and then where my wife will cut your heart and we will eat you for lunch. And then, this monkey was intelligent. He said, oh, I left my heart in the tree. I have to go get it so that you and your wife can have a good lunch. And then this crocodile, oh, okay, then that's a good way to get your heart. So he turns back and he drops him, and this monkey goes and never to come back. So Srila Prabhupada says that you may associate with non-devotees as well, but don't give them your heart. Okay, so don't give them your heart. So we are all grahasthas. Most of us are grahasthas. We have to work with we have to work in different environment. So don't give your heart, but if you have to mingle with them, that's one. And then many other stories as well. The frog, Dr. Frog philosophy. This is non-devotees do not know how great God is, right? So there is this beautiful well, very deep well. This frog is living in this well with his family. Okay, that's his house, that's his restaurant, that is his school, everything. He's not seen anything other than this little well, deep well. And here there is another frog that is dropped from Pacific Ocean. And he asked this frog from Pacific Ocean, hey frog, how big was the water where you came from? He says, very big. What? Very big? Bigger than this 5 buckets of water in this well? He says, oh, no, it's very, very big. 20 buckets? No, much bigger. 30 buckets? No. Then he says, forget it. How can there be any other place much bigger than this? Yeah, it can be a little bit bigger. How can it be so big like an ocean, right? So it's beyond his thinking. So we may also not know how great God is, right? So when we read the scriptures that Srila Prabhupada has given us, then we will know how great God is, right? And also the lion and the rabbit has so many small stories. Yeah, a few more minutes. I just wanted to give a couple of more stories of then this lion and the rabbit, right? So this lion was eating all the animals. Srila Prabhupada has given all this. You can also go to Veda base and all these small stories that Srila Prabhupada is there available, right? So today is his disappearance day, and we are glorifying Srila Prabhupada for what he's given us to even varying degrees of devotees. We can say some of us are in kindergarten, some of you may be in PhD level. So what Srila Prabhupada has given us, like Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is for somebody in a higher level. He's given us so much, but the net result is through the stories, through the books, through Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, through all that, we are going towards one destination. So this lion was eating all the animals, every animal, and then all the animals got together. Sir, don't come and eat us. You're eating, anybody and everything. We will send you one animal at a time every day, so that you don't have to do anything. Don't struggle. We'll come and become your food. So the lion agreed. One day it was a turn of a rabbit, and the rabbit came late, and the lion said, why are you late? I'm so hungry. He said, oh, there's another lion was coming to eat me, and then I told I have to be your food. And that lion said, what are you talking about? Yeah, I then ran and came. Then this lion said, oh, I want to see him. Then he takes him. There's a big well, and he says, see that lion? He's roaring at you. You roar at him. And then this lion had to fight him by jumping into the well, and that was the end of it. So here, Lord Krishna, Srila Prabhupada is saying intelligence will save us, right? So he's given us all the scriptural intelligence. This intelligent rabbit, saved himself and other animals as well. And determination. Today's topic is Srila Prabhupada, remembering Srila Prabhupada, epitome of determination and compassion. So determination is a sparrow, right? So this is in I think Bhagavad-Gita 6.24 in the purport. Srila Prabhupada is explaining about this beautiful story. Again, it's good to hear this, right? So these pastimes, these stories are very instructional. So this little sparrow laid some eggs in the shores of a massive ocean. A big wave came, swept all the eggs, and this little bird was helpless, and he said, the ocean, please give me back my eggs, because I want my children. And of course everybody started laughing. What are you going to do? And then this little bird started using his little tiny beak and trying to empty the water. He said, I'm going to empty your water, ocean, and then I'm going to take back my eggs. And the ocean laughed, and everybody laughed. And then that got the attention of this bigger bird. The small bird attention was caught by this bigger bird, which is Garuda, the carrier of Vishnu. And then he came, and then he threatened the ocean to empty the water. And then of course ocean had to know that it will be emptied. So he brought the eggs and gave it back. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada says the practice of yoga, especially bhakti yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear very difficult, right, for all of us at some point in time. But we have to do it with determination, just like the sparrow. And if we do it, the Lord will help us, right? So the Lord will help those who help themselves. So we do what we can, and God will do what we cannot, right? So don't tell, you would have heard this, right? So do what you can. And 18.58, Machitta Sarva Durgani Mat Prasada Tarishyasi, right? So if you're conscious of the Lord, you'll be able to cross over all the obstacles. If you don't, then we will be in trouble. So Krishna, so Srila Prabhupada has given us everything that we want to progress in this Krishna consciousness. And he's also given us so many. We don't have much time to discuss much more, but he's given us how to teachings on how to do deity worship, what to eat, what not to eat, not just vegetarian, be a Krishnatarian, complete program from morning to evening, individually with our family members. And everything that he taught us is connected, how to connect with God. Take care of Tulasi, offering Bhoga, honoring Prasadam, hearing and reading books, singing Kirtan, playing instruments, distributing books, going on pilgrimages, taking bath in holy rivers, everything that is given. And, and he taught us about Ekadasi. How many of us would have known what Ekadasi is if Srila Prabhupada did not teach us, right? And he taught us, this is a temporary place of miseries, right? This too shall pass. Just because we are devotees, we can't say, oh, Srila Prabhupada, once Srila Prabhupada, the disciple said this, it seems, even he was cutting some vegetables or tomato or something, he cut his finger. And then he said, Prabhupada, I've been chanting so much, you see, Krishna made me cut the finger. And then Srila Prabhupada told him that your hand was supposed to be cut off based on your past karma, but because you're performing devotional service, then the token of punishment is given to you where you're cutting your little finger. So it's just a slap in the wrist for you, right? So all this only when we read from Prabhupada's purports, when we read, when we hear his lectures, etc., we'll get to know so much. And this is a Durga Dham, and Prabhupada said this is a Durga Dham. So don't try to go from third-class prison to first-class prison. Don't aim to get a better material life, because your aim should be to get out from this, because all of us are like a fish. Just imagine a fish. He gave this example as well. If you take a fish from the water and then you give him a nice little suit. Hey, fish, I'm giving you a nice little dress, beautiful dress. I'll give you a Lamborghini car. I'll take you for a ride in a Lamborghini car, not with water. Just sit on the seat and come. Will the fish be happy? No. Like that, Srila Prabhupada has again and again taught us that we as spirit soul will never be happy with whatever material condition that we may have, however great it may be. It will not be satisfying for us. And so our only way is to go back home, back to God. And he's given us so many key verses as well, who we are, Dehinosmi Neta Dehe, etc., etc. So during this on this auspicious day, we say it's auspicious because Srila Prabhupada has given us whatever we need to have for us to go back home, back to Godhead, where it's love in separation, where we contemplate the teachings and the sacrifice of Srila Prabhupada, especially during those 12 years from 1965 when he left the shores of India to come to the West, and 1977 November, and today is the Thirobhava of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. What he's done during those 12 years, and as a eternal impact of that, we are all benefiting. Our later generations will benefit from what Srila Prabhupada has given us. So this is the holy month of Kartik. And in 1972, I'd like to conclude with this. It's a few more minutes we have. In 1972, Srila Prabhupada spent the entire month. So 1972. So 1965 he came, 1977 he left his body and went back home, back to God. So 1972, in between the whole month, he spent the entire month in Vrindavan. And those of you who are very familiar with Krishna Balaram temple, Krishna Balaram temple was not built in 1972. It was built only in 1977. So he was staying in Radha Damodar temple in 1972 during the month of Kartik, even though he had come and established many temples. He didn't just establish temples here, but he also established temples in India. So at that time, construction was going on. And then Srila Prabhupada said that Urja Vrata is what we should aim for during this month of Kartik, because that's the perfecting the mantra siddhi. So we have to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra more and more. And the whole month program in 1972 that Srila Prabhupada instituted there in Radha Damodar Mandir, when Krishna Balaram temple was still not built, was that Srimad Bhagavatam class in the morning, Prabhupada used to give, and then Kirtan, and then other activities related. Then they'll go and visit this temple site. And then in the evening, it was Nectar of Devotion class. And Srila Prabhupada has taught us everything about the month of Damodar as well. He personally demonstrated, and he said he's Acharya, showing by example how to perform, take part in this month of Kartik. And one thing which he repeated a few times was this little mouse that was in the area where there was a lot of ghee lamps, and then he wanted to go and eat the ghee, and between the teeth, the ghee wick got caught, and the fire was engulfing him, and he was shaking his head. Without knowing, inadvertently, he was doing this Damodar Arati or Arati to Lord Krishna. And because of that, he got a body, human body in the next life. And then he went back home, back to Godhead. So We have so much to learn from the life and teachings of Srila Prabhupada, especially the determination and compassion. So we follow in his footstep, which is Anusara, following the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. And a beautiful verse that comes to my mind is this 1:8:42. It is Queen Kunti's teaching. Tvayeme ananya vishaya matir matupate sakrit adimut vakata datat angevagam udanvati. This is the determination, talks about determination. Oh Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges flows forever into the sea without hindrance, right? Let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone or anything else, right? For those of you who've been to Gangotri, how the Ganges flows, the massive rocks are there. It will come on top sideways, but it will reach the sea. So Srila Prabhupada demonstrated that, and he also said that, Chandramauli Maharaj mentioned this in New Vrindavan, that Prabhupada once asked, Prabhupada, what happens if you don't have determination? He said, then you are an animal, because animals cannot be determined. One small sound, the animal will run away. So we need to have the determination of a butterfly as well, how it comes out of the cocoon, as well as Dhruva Maharaj, many examples of determination. Compassion also from Srila Prabhupada and his teachings as well, right? Ranti Deva's compassion from the 9th canto. We also have Lord Shiva's compassion as a Paradukha Dukhi. When this Hala poison came, he drank it, and Nilakanta was the name after that. And also the 4th canto, we see how he allowed Daksha to come back to life by getting this goat head after Brahma went and prayed to Lord Shiva. So he's Paradukha Dukhi, he's compassion. And also we have that compassion for his disciple Banasura when his hands were cut off, and then Lord Krishna allowed Banasura to live because of Lord Shiva's compassion. So Srila Prabhupada is exemplifying the compassionate nature of all the great personalities that we read from Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas as well. So Advaita Acharya, maybe I'll conclude with this. Advaita Acharya had so much of compassion for humanity because he worshipped the Supreme Lord with Ganges water and Tulasi, and then he chanted the names of the Lord so loudly, it said that it penetrated the layers of the universe, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So that's all because of compassion of these great personalities. So on this day, we are actually very fortunate that we are able to get everything that Srila Prabhupada has given us on this Tirobhava Mahotsav day today, 7th of November 2021 Sunday. We have reflected little bit on reflected and contemplated a little bit on the life and teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, his unparalleled determination and compassion to save our lives. So one last thing is, according to scriptures, it is said that we are indebted to 5 personalities every day. Devaruna, so the debts are towards the Devas, towards the Rishis, towards our parents, towards human beings, and towards other living entities and nature. Okay, so Devaruna, then we have Rishi Runa, Pitru Runa, Manisha Runa, and then Bhuta Runa. So Rishi Runa is we are indebted. So Srila Prabhupada has given us these books of Vyasadeva, who's the 17th incarnation of the Lord, who's not different from Lord. So it means God is writing about himself. So how can that be any defect? And Srila Prabhupada has given us. So one way we can liquidate this debt is to read the books of Srila Prabhupada that he's given us, internalize that to nullify the debts, and then we all benefit and go back home, back to God. So thank you very much for this, giving us your valuable time on this very, very important day for all of us who are members of Iskcon on Srila Prabhupada's Disappearance Day. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Thank you so much, Anand Gaurang Prabhu, for, there's always so many lessons that we can take after hearing your talk, but I especially liked the quote that you gave from Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, which said that Prabhupada's journey to West is a huge step for mankind to grow spiritually. And of course, you shared so many smaller stories for us to remember. Thanks so much, Prabhu. We appreciate your time and efforts. For all of you listening from Zoom and some of you on Facebook, we encourage you to post your questions if you have any, and I'll be happy to take them. So Anand Gaurang Prabhu, of course, other than many of them glorifying how good the talk was and appreciating your efforts. There is one small question by Rohit Bajaj Prabhu. I mean, you spoke about various books that Prabhupada had written. So he's just asking if you could speak a little bit about Krishna Book and what it is about. So maybe just a brief, synopsis on what this book is about.
Great question. So thank you for that question. So this Krishna book, this is from the 10th canto. So Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree of knowledge, is, I do have copies of other Puranas as well. There are 18 major Puranas. And the crest jewel of the Vedic wisdom, it is said, it is this Srimad Bhagavatam. It's got 18,000 verses, slokas, you can say 14,094 actual verses. But beyond that, it's got 12 cantos, okay? So out of the 12 cantos, the 10th canto talks about Lord Krishna, his appearance in Mathura, and then how he was moved to Gokul, and then how he and all the pastimes that we had, Putana, Trinavata, Sakatasura, Agasura, Bagasura, all those pastimes are beautifully described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. You'll have the Sanskrit verse. If you read Srimad Bhagavatam, then you have the transliteration, then you have the synonyms, and then you have the translation, etc., and then you have the purport, right? So it'll go to multiple pages, right? So it's got nearly 4,000 verses out of the 18,000 or 40. You say nearly 4,000 verses are from this 10th canto, which contains 90 chapters. Okay, so it's pretty much a lot of information is there about Lord Krishna himself. Because if you're wondering, then what is there in the other cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam? Other wonderful pastimes are there about the incarnations of the Lord, other incarnations of the Lord, and great personalities of the Lord. If you go to 4th canto, you have Dhruva Maharaj, and then you have Matsya Avatar, you have it in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's spread across multiple cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam if you want to know about incarnations of the Lord. Lord Narasimhadev is in the 7th canto, Varahadev in 3rd canto, etc. But to answer your question, everything that is there in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is contained in the 90 chapters of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, is beautifully condensed into one small book called Krishna Book. So it's got a summary of chapter 1 of the 90th of the 10th canto, chapter 2 of the 10th canto, chapter 3 of the 10th canto, with various heading, of course, based on corresponding to what is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we strongly encourage you to get this one book to start off with. If you have not read Srimad Bhagavatam yet, if you can get this Krishna book, it's no Sanskrit verses there, all in a nice, beautiful story form, very beautiful to read, very easy to read. From end to end, cover to cover, you can read it in few hours, and you will immensely relish the contents of Krishna book.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thanks for that explanation. We have another quick question by David Prabhu. So he's just asking about how the soul travels to planet very far in a very short time. So obviously, I'm sure we can give an entire talk about planetary travel. But Anand Gaurang Prabhu, any quick thoughts on how the soul is able to transcend to a different planet in a short span of time?
Well, we don't know whether the short term, right? So it doesn't say how long it takes for the soul to travel from one place to another travel. It's not quantifiable, but because the soul is spiritual in nature, it's spirit, because it's not like I do have the soul. Some people say I don't have a soul. Some people say, no, I do have a soul. But the actual reality that Srila Prabhupada is taught is, I am the soul who's trapped in this material body, right? So as we can see, Krishna says in the 2nd chapter, so beautiful for David Prabhu, it'll be a great start if you've already not read the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, because the entire, description of what the soul is described there. And then we will know, why would it be so difficult for a soul to instantaneously travel? Forget about the soul. Take the mind. Now the mind is we have this gross body, with this earth, water, fire, air, and ether, right? Earth is the flesh, and blood is the water. Fire is the fire of digestion in the stomach. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, everything is there. And then we have the subtle body. Then we have this mind, intelligence, and false ego. And beyond that is the soul, right? Beyond the subtle body is the soul. Now the mind, right? So when David, Prabhu, if you're just sitting and assume that you're thinking that you are remembering what you did in India, okay? What you may have gone to India 5 years ago, and then instantly your mind is there, okay? So it's much faster than the speed of light, speed of sound. Mind is instantaneous, and mind is subtle body. Still, it's material in nature. According to 7th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, the gross body and the subtle body is still material in nature. When the soul eventually goes back home, back to Godhead, so just imagine how much potency the soul will have. If the mind can travel so fast, the soul is much more subtler, and that is our true nature, and how fast it can travel. So it is not surprising that the soul can travel instantaneously wherever it has to travel. And the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, Dehinos Menata Dehe Kaumaram Yamanajana, beautifully it expresses, and Vasamsi Jirnani 2.22, I think 2.20, 2.22. Vasamsi Jirnani Yata Vihaya Navani Grinati Naruparani. So here it says, just like this, we take the old cloth and throw it away, we wear the new clothes. So similarly, this soul leaves one body and goes to another body at death, right? So it transfers. So it doesn't tell us how quickly it transfers, but again, 2nd chapter, it tells us that the soul, this Atma cannot be destroyed by fire, cannot be cut with any weapon, etc. So it's because it's the nature of Sachidananda. Krishna, the Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, we are simultaneously one and different. Qualitatively, we are same, just like Krishna qualitatively, but quantitatively we are Krishna is infinite and we are infinitesimal, so small. So this soul, when it is transferring, it is the nature of Krishna, qualitatively the nature of Krishna. So it doesn't surprise that it can travel very quickly. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, Anandaran Prabhu. We have David Prabhu thanking as well. I think we can conclude for today's first part of the session, Prabhu. We really again appreciate your time to.
If I can add one last thing,
Yes.
because this is month of Kartik, we are in the home stretch. We have less than 2 weeks to go. So there are a couple of things I would like. Only one thing, maybe I'll read one verse. So I have a printout about Ekadasi that is coming. During the month of Kartik, there are 2 Ekadasis. The Ekadasi that is coming is on the 14th of November, which is Sunday. Please mark it in your calendar. This is very significant. Okay, so I'm going to read, I don't know which verse to pick from Hari Bhakti Vilas. I'm going to read one verse. Okay, maybe. Okay, I'll read this. This is 289 this is from the 16th chapter of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. O Narada, simply by fasting on Prabodhini Ekadasi, which is on the 14th November Sunday, one can avoid entering the womb of any future mother. Therefore, give up all varieties of religion and just fast on that day. Okay, there are many verses, right? So I just printed some of them. We don't have time to go through it, but I just wanted you to remember this, make a note of it in your calendar. So don't miss that opportunity to perform more of devotional service on the Sunday that is coming, 14th of November. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. I mean, on Ekadashis, we've been doing extra rounds of japa as well. But again, thanks for sharing that quote. We're going to continue with rest of the program, Prabhu, for the evening. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll hopefully see you very soon. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
For others, Hare Krishna devotees, we'll be continuing with the second part of today's evening program. So as you all know, every evenings during this month of Kartik, we have been having special Kartik sadhana session for kids, adults, and everyone actually. So you can all join that starting at 6:30 p.m. So we have about 15 minutes for that, but I just wanted to let you know that We will be continuing with that at 6:30 today, and then there'll be Damodarashtakam at 7 p.m. So as you can see on the screen, there is, since we celebrated Srila Prabhupada's, we had a special arti for Srila Prabhupada at the temple today. So this is a short clip which we'll be sharing. But before that, I just have a quick announcement. I mentioned about this last week as well. We have an upcoming retreat which is exclusively for men, and it's called the Mantra Retreat. And I'm just going to be sharing the link for that on the Zoom chat. I've already shared it on Facebook. So again, feel free to check out this link. You will get to know more about what the retreat is and how you can participate. So a couple of years ago, it was a retreat that was in person at New Vrindavan, but obviously in the last 2 years due to COVID, it's come to virtual platform. So we'll be having some sessions over these 2 days. That is the upcoming week of November 12th to 14th. So feel free to check it out, and you're all welcome to participate. So with that, I will let Abhinav to share the video, and then he will be the host for the rest of today's program. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.